know once you start, there's no going back. This means total commitment. Once you begin the path, there is no leaving the path. Are you sure you're ready for that?
Alright, so we're going to talk about this awakening that's going on the planet and within a lot of us, right? And I'm going to take my time with this one. So, this shit like a rapture for real. When you start to wake up spiritually, because 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10, you're going to be the only one in your region, the only one on your block, the only one in your family that's awakened. So, it could kind of feel like you on an island and you isolated and nobody understand you and shit like that. And when we talk about awakening, right, we talking about, first and foremost, waking up to the fact that you're not just a body. You're not your name. You're not just a mother. You're not just a father. You're not just a cousin or whatever the case may be. You're not your job title. You're not whatever degree you got. You're not that. Your worldly existence. This really has nothing to do much with your worldly existence, but at the same time, it do got to do a lot with your worldly existence, because once you awaken, it start to pull you away from a lot of the worldly shit and the things that you used to. And it's like a rapture. I remember reading when I used to read the Bible heavy, I remember it's a part in the Bible about the rapture, and it said it'd be 2 of y'all in the field or 2 of y'all in the bed, and I'll take 1 of y'all and leave the other one. And that's how it kind of happened for me. Like me, you might have been in a relationship for years and shit like that. The relationship might not have been going well, but that might have been the place you get your identity from. So you was trying to stick it out in the name of family or whatever the case may be. So that's how it was for me. I was in a toxic relationship where I was very toxic. The other person was very toxic. But I, was buying into the family structure and things like that, still being controlled by the matrix and shit like that. So I was trying to keep that going. But as I awakened, it was like undeniable. Like it was something that you just can't ignore it. So little by little, you'll find yourself beginning to detach from the reality as you know it. And just look around the world right now. It's not a lot of us awakening. A lot of people are comfortable in their ignorance. And there's many types of ignorance, but I think the worst ignorance is to just not want to do the research, not want to know the truth, to be presented with the truth and want to turn your head and stay blind and stay numb. And that's a lot of the first things that you're going to deal with as you awaken. That's the first thing. You're going to deal with the fact that people are not privy to the truth. People don't want to see the darkness. People don't want to know what's really actually going on. And like I always say, I have people tell me, oh man, I don't want to know the bad things in the world. I don't want to know the negative things in the world. So that's one of the first things you're going to deal with. And it can make you feel alienated. You feel me? This awakening is happening on multiple dimensions. So it's happening on a vibrational level. It's happening on a frequency level. It's happening on a genetic level. You feel me? Changes in your body and all that. Changes with the sun is changing, the earth is changing. Everything is ascending to a higher dimension. The earth itself, the animals, the plant, everything. So if you look around and just be honest with yourself, you can see nothing is the same. Ain't nothing the same. You can't get the bag of chips you used to get when you was little and shit like that. That ain't the same. It don't taste the same. Nothing costs the same amount. You feel me? Kids ain't kids no more. A lot of things change. So we in a space where we kind of imploding to a space where everything's so watered down that we have to reset on some level, because we've been born into a space where we damn near lost so much of our soul that we at an extinction level as far as the soul goes. And the soul could never be extinct, but the vehicle that the soul embodies, that the spirit embodies, is people are just starting to just be deep into their flesh. And also we gotta understand this too, like it said in the Bible. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities in higher dimensions, on higher levels. So since people are not occupying their vessel, they're not occupying their vehicle on the soul and on the spirit level, other entities are able to enter them and use them through their greed, through their ignorance, through their gluttony. Everybody is so greedy now. Everybody is so harsh now. Nobody tapped into the heart. We didn't as a collective, we didn't got very numb. Like, you could just go on Facebook right now and just see somebody get shot in the head, and like it become normal. We got to a place where we just be like, oh, all right, just mind your business and shit like that, and just keep it moving. You know, long as your little corner of the universe is your reality is cool and it's familiar how you want it to be, you just go on as you always been going on. And that's what people are doing. But we at a level right now where if you are holding on and hugging on to your ignorance, you just gonna be a casualty of war. And on some level, we all are casualties of war, because we always ignorant on some level. The key is to understand that literally we are always being ignorant and always blind to something on a certain level. And that's the true meaning of enlightenment. To know that you don't know, so that you always are open to knowing something new. And there's levels to this shit, because now I'm starting to understand, like, it's a lot of people that are using the disguise of spirituality as a cover up or whatever the case may be, and they might think they really practicing real spirituality because it's conceptual to them. So now we have people that's not open to doing inner work. They're not open to the internal realm, to the dark spaces, to the feminine and shit like that. Even women are closed off from the feminine because everybody is worried about, they think they supposed to express their femininity outwardly, put on big lashes and go get a big butt and wear bright colors and thinking that's being feminine, when being feminine is really just dealing with the internal, dealing with the darker parts of yourself and dealing with the unknown. Yeah, so people are so cut off from that because we so enamored by what's happening on the outside, the football games, the basketball games, what the government got going on, conspiracy theories. Even that's, that's a level of awakening, but at the same time, that's some shit you got to get past too. So now, even things, like I said, even things like spirituality have become something people just look at. Oh, that's that thing you do? Or what you meditate, or you burn incense and stuff, or you play with tarot cards, or whatever the case may be. It's becoming like the butt of a joke almost. So people is missing they missing a shift. So you gotta be okay with being the weird one as you awaken, and you gotta be okay with facing your own demons. And that's what that was my path, and that's what my purpose is, and that's what we all gonna have to come to the conclusion is, that you gotta face yourself. You gotta be all right with yourself. You gotta get to a point where you can sit with yourself and allow these dense energies to release up out of you and purge up out of you. And that means feeling them. That means fucking with your trauma. That means really sitting down and reflecting and shit like that. And the world we live in does not aid us in that way. The world we live in actually works against that. So it's going to be something you're going to have to be intentional about. It's not going to be some shit you're going to have a fake practice where you think you just going to do it for 2 seconds out of the day. This is something that you have to be observant of and open to 24/7. And the reason why I'm so urgent about it right now is because we living in a time right now where it's not a lot of time to just sit and do a whole bunch of research and get lost in facades or lost in practices and just lost in shit that really, subjects that really don't matter. And that's why I'm always constantly pointing those of you that are stepping onto your spiritual path. We always on our spiritual path. Let me just always reiterate that. It's just the fact that we have to grow in awareness of the fact that we on a spiritual path and not just an earthly path. So yeah, the planet is rising. That's why, if you notice, it's hot as hell outside, and it's a different kind of heat. The sun not even the same. Nothing is the same. Time speeding up, all that shit in the Bible they be saying is true. It's just that people only look on the surface level. You know what I mean? I know a lot of so even on that level, a lot of people that think they Christians and a lot of people that think they religious, they blind to the true fact of doing inner work, because they still waiting for something outside of them to come save them. And that's what this world promote. That's what this world put all its money into, all its attention into, is a savior, a hero, a something coming out the sky, an alien, something coming to get you out of your situation, or whatever the case may be, a government. Everybody think that it's something or somebody outside of them that knows better than them, when really, on some real shit, to be honest with you, it's in you. It's really in you. You just gotta take the time. But the thing about right now is we don't have that much time. So it's like you got to get on that like yesterday. So like I said, as the frequency rise up on the planet, and the vibrations rise up on the planet, you start to have to deal with what's really there. And you got to start within yourself. So you're going to start to feel uncomfortable. You're going to start to feel melancholy. You're going to start to feel like you dealing with shit that you ain't think about in years. You remembering shit that you ain't remember in years. What really happened in your childhood, how you was misled, how you was led astray. You feel me? How what worked for mommy and daddy don't work for you. And like I said, a lot of people hide behind ignorance. A lot of people hide behind trends. A lot of people hide behind what's popular. Because people find their comfort in looking around and saying, well, everybody else is doing it. I gotta, when I'm teaching children, that's a constant thing they constantly saying, comparing themselves to others. That's a lot of what we got going on across the board. Everybody's looking, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and thinking that it's something wrong with them. And that's how we've been taught for generations, to feel like something wrong with us. Even down to the people that always talking about the slavery shit and let's overcome this and even the Juneteenth bullshit and shit like that. Man, if we starting from a point of lack, where you think we gonna end up at? That's why I don't even really pay no attention to none of the stories about what happened in slavery and nothing like that, because I gotta live for right now. I have to make my changes right now, and I have to live in a world that is as it is. You feel what I'm saying? I can't be worried about too much about what happened back then. A lot of people like to say, like, to worship their ancestors and shit like that, and that's not what your ancestors want. Your ancestors want you to advance. Your ancestors want you to move forward with the knowledge and wisdom that they gain, that's still stored inside you, stored inside your DNA. They want you to advance. They don't want you to harp on the past. And that's like another psychological operation that happens. They constantly show you slavery. They constantly show you that you came from lack. They constantly show that you came from oppression and that you was born over here and you misplaced and all that kind of shit like that. And that's where your history starts. That's where you feel your origin is. But I'm trying to tell you, your origin is the soul first. Before you're black, before you're Chinese, white, whatever the case may be, your origin is at the spirit, at the soul. And when I say the knowledge and the wisdom is in you, it truly is in you. It's no separation from one lifetime to another lifetime. I don't know if you believe in having more than one lifetime, but if you think that you got ancestors, then you must believe in other lifetimes. Because there's always somebody that seeded you. There's always somebody that was your predecessor. There's always somebody that came before you. And you think that what they learned, the energy that they brought to the planet and grounded on the planet, you think that that's gone? If that's the case, you wouldn't have to fight through the trauma that your mother or your father or your circumstances left you in to get to a place where you're not hindered by it no more. It's always, what happened in the past gonna always stick around until you change it. It's gonna repeat itself. I hope I'm making sense on that. Because when I get to talking about things like this, sometimes it could become difficult to articulate it. But so we are literally genetically advancing. And this is another reason for, I'm going to just say the pandemic, because there's certain things, like I always say, there's certain things we can't say on these platforms because you get reprimanded, striked, you get your video took down and shit like that. That was the reason for the pandemic and all of the things that came with the pandemic. It was to lock you down genetically. It was to cut you off from your DNA advancing to a higher strands, to activating you on a higher dimension. And when I talk about multiple dimensions and higher dimensions, I like to talk about it logically and rationally, right? You have a body, right? You live, your feet is here on earth. But you could travel in so many dimensions on your mind. You could travel into so many dimensions with your emotions. You don't always feel the same. You're not always thinking the same thing. You're not always imagining the same thing. A lot of people sleep on imagination. Like, imagination is a gift. I don't know if animals are able to really dream and imagine. I hear sometimes they can or whatever the case may be, but I wouldn't know. But we able to have dreams. We able to imagine things. We able to take things from the unseen realm and actually bring them here so you can see them and feel them and touch them and eat them and drive them and talk on them and all kinds of shit. All these inventions and things that we use and we look at them as necessities and they really luxuries. But they come from the imagination first. They come from a higher space, a higher realm. And we living in a time right now that you need to be feeding that higher realm. You need to be able to imagine something that doesn't exist yet. You need to be able to be open to something that's unseen. You need to be able to have faith in something. That's why I don't be knocking nobody in their religious beliefs. I'm not a religious person, but I don't knock nobody in their religious beliefs, because in every religion, the one thing that remains the same is faith, trust. The unseen. What is faith? You got to have faith in that what you believe in or whatever the case may be is going to come to fruition. And we do it all the time. It might be a situation, you might need a job. You start imagining ways, or you might need some money. You start imagining ways you could get it. And then you come up with something and then you bring it to actually have it in your hands. So we got to get back to that. We got to get back to the times like it say in the Bible. I'm going to have to keep quoting the Bible on this one. We got to become childlike again. We got to be able to imagine things and be able to believe in things that are not right in front of our face. But like I said, the world that we live in brought us to a place where if people don't see it, if people can't feel it, if people can't touch it, they don't believe in it. So for you as the one that's awakening, right? And first and foremost, you represent a whole lineage on a soul level. You represent a whole soul family. So even your family might not truly be your family. They might be your family genetically through blood, but they might not be your family on a soul level. That's just a whole nother. I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. And that's what, but that's a lot of the reasons why you can't fit in with your family or fit in with your community, fit in with your peers, and you probably felt like you never fit in. It's because you was never made to. It's because you was made to be the one to awaken. You was made to be the one to notice, feel higher frequencies, higher vibrations, higher dimensions, multiple dimensions, because we are multiple dimensional beings. So for us to just sit up here and think that life is eat, sleep, and shit, and then reproducing, that's just one dimension. Like, this earth truly can't really offer you much if you're not tapped in spiritually. What could the earth give you? So we living in a time where it's an emergency type level when we talking about the internal realm. We talking about the feminine aspect of life, the unseen. When I'm talking about feminine, when I'm talking about internal, I'm talking about the unseen aspects of life. It's time that we pour our energy into that and start to remove our energy from the worldly things. Start to believe in ourselves and stop believing in whatever coming on the news or whatever goes on social media, because that shit is just come and go. That shit is trendy as hell. So yeah, when you begin to awaken, right, it's a lonely road. It's a very lonely road, but you will be guided and you will be led to specific information that's going to expand your mind, that's going to guide you deeper into yourself, that's going to be a reflection of who you are, what you are, and where you're headed. And it don't even matter exactly where you really begin at, where you start at, as long as you introduce yourself to new things. And a lot, and most of us, we always been that person that been open to some level, just a little bit more open or a lot more open to information, new ways of doing things, open into traveling. A lot of us, we grew up with people that never left the neighborhood. We grew up with people that still staying on the same house that they grew up in. Don't let that go over your head. A lot of people that cling to their familiarity, but they are there to be a reflection of what you shouldn't do. So they're doing that. They staying complacent. They stand in the same spot, and you seeing the results of what they getting just so you know not to do it. And like I said, it's not going to be a manual just written out plain and simple. It's something that you're going to have to devote yourself to. You're going to have to devote yourself to digging and asking why over and over again. Why is this? How did it happen? What is the reason? Where did it come from? Because that's what we lack as a collective. Nobody asks questions. Everybody just take what's there. And we call it normal. It's normal to stay on a job for 12 hours, but sleep at your house for 6 hours and things like that, barely see your kids, and go to school and all of these things, and stay and never make your house into a home, and never have a safe haven, and never actually feel safe on this planet. Never actually feel safe in your body, because you constantly chasing and trying to bribe Peter to pay Paul to uphold a reality that does not pour back into you. We live in a space right now, rent sky high, mortgages is sky high, gas is sky high, food is sky high. That don't serve the people. That don't serve you. That don't bring you no peace of mind so that you could do your spiritual work, so that you could find out who you are. And that's by design, though. I know a lot of people is awakening and they finding out, oh shit, the person that you sleeping next to might be the enemy. The person that you sleeping next to, and I'm not talking about an enemy like they got bad intentions. Like I said, we wrestle against flesh and blood. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities and higher dimensions. Entities in higher dimensions, meaning thought patterns and people, the people you around might, like I said, being used as a vessel or a vehicle to keep you off your path. Because, and let me be clear on what I'm saying. They're being used because, like it said in the Bible, they know not what they do. They know not what they do, meaning they don't have the capacity to observe their thoughts, observe their feelings, ask why, how, where, what, when. They just, like I said, they start, they wake up, they hop on the phone with a person, they gossiping, they on to the next thing. I ain't knocking none of these things. I have participated in all of them. I'm always quick to throw myself under the bus because, you feel me, nobody better than the next person. And your path don't start just when you become aware of it. You always on your path. But once you begin to awaken to your path, then you begin to have some real direction. So the people that's around you might still be indulging in all kind of things, because that's what happens when we don't have an internal, we're not attached to our internal compass. When we don't have no sense of direction, when we don't have no sense of purpose, all we're going to do is look for distractions, look for pleasures, look for the easy way out. And it's a shame we living in a world right now where the easy way out is like, for some people is actually just working 16 hours a day and neglecting their creativity and neglecting their gifts and neglecting their talents and what they actually want to do, neglecting the soul. The soul wants to express itself. The soul wants to expand. The soul wants to do new things. That's why a lot of people repeat the same things. I remember in my days of just ignorance and always having that inkling that I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm supposed to be doing that, but taking the easy way out. So I would wind up going through the same situations, different people, different city, different state, same situation. Ruining relationships, being combative. I'm talking about practical shit here. Because we could go, like I said, that's another thing. We go all the way up to these higher dimensions, because we got to understand this too about ourselves. Like, we've been taught to look for a savior. So a lot of people get into spirituality and think spiritual practices and stuff like that itself is going to save them. Nah, you have to really, truly connect. And to connect, you're going to have to get through that part of yourself that want to escape something, want to be saved by something or someone. You feel what I'm saying? You got to be real about it. You gotta be very real. You gotta call yourself out on a lot of shit. And that's something that it's uncomfortable, because the ego don't like that. When I say the ego, I'm not talking about ego in a negative way. I'm just talking about the ego in the sense of what it is, the idea of who you are. That's what the ego is. It's just an idea. You made up your mind of who you are, so that's what you just, I only do this, I don't deal with that, I don't read that, that's not my bag, I don't fuck with that. Like, even right now, what I'm talking about right now, I'm starting to realize and be directed to talk about things on a multiple dimensional level. So it's people that might know me or thought they knew me or whatever the case may be. It might be over their head. They might think, oh, I lost my mind. And they right. You're right. If you think I lost my mind, you're right. And that's what we supposed to do. That's your ego. Is your mind got a lot to do with your ego, who you think you are. So who I thought I once was not who I was. Who I was yesterday is not who I was, and I understand that every day. So when I wake up, life is juicy. Life starts to become juicy for you when you awaken, because you waking up to awaken some more. You literally wake up in the morning and you're like, what I'm going to learn about myself today? What am I going to confront myself about today? And if you want to take the word awakening and understand this, it's synonymous with confrontation. It's the big showdown that everybody talk about, the hero and the villain, God and the devil. It's you, your lower aspects and your higher aspects have to see each other. You got to go in that darkness and bring some light to it. And when I say darkness, I mean unseen, I mean internal, I mean feminine, I mean the things that you unaware of. You have to just be intentional about being open to it, and what you seek is seeking you, so it'll find you. That book you need will find you. That direction, when you would get that in that fork in the road, should you go left and should you go right, it's going to be something in your intuition, an inkling to make you go in the right direction. And you're going to start to understand that you're being guided. A lot of us know it since we was kids and we just forgot because we got caught up in the world. We always been guided. We always been in situations we didn't know we was going to get out of. And then, you know what I mean, somehow we got out of it. A lot of times we couldn't hang with the crowd. Every time we try to do what the crowd do, we get reprimanded. We get in trouble fast. You feel what I'm saying? To remind us like, yo, you're not one of them. So, like I said, the people around you, because of their lack of awareness and their them being in their ignorance, and when I say ignorance, I just mean being unaware of shit or not being, or they just don't want to be aware of it, can hold you back. It's relationships that I thought I would, like, you know, I would be in forever. It's family members and things like that that I thought, you know, we gonna ride together and die together. But that was just me being locked down to a belief system of family first, and you always supposed to sacrifice for your family. You're supposed to sacrifice for your friends. And I didn't realize that was trauma bonding. I didn't realize we was just sticking together because we all was living in fear. So when I began to rise up to a frequency of acceptance, a frequency of confrontation, a frequency of love, me and these people no longer had anything in common. I started to realize that it's other dimensions, it's higher dimensions within myself. And that's what you are realizing right now as I speak. You're realizing that it's more to you. You're starting to realize that life is a mirror a little bit. And if you ain't realized that yet, I'm here to tell you. But like I said, I like to make it practical. I like to make it rational. I like to take the complex shit and make it simple. So you're going to need to make use of your time. And your soul wants some solitude. Your soul wants some silence. Your soul want to be intimate with you. So that the vehicle that the soul embodies, which is your body, which is your mind, your heart, begins to be clean so it could be utilized, begins to be sharpened so it could be a sharper sword. You feel what I'm saying? And that don't happen following the crowd. That don't happen following the herd. That don't happen believing everything you see on the news. That's not going to manifest. That's not even going to happen falling into some realm of spirituality that all you worry about is the law of attraction and manifestation and thinking that you're going to be able to just hope and wish some way into having some material thing. Just think about that, man. That's another thing I didn't understand. I had to wake up to that. Like, yo, it's a whole level of so-called spirituality that's not even really spirituality. It's about people just making wishes and wishing that they could have a certain type of life that might not even be truly for their path. Because if you give a child $1 million, they're gonna buy $1 million worth of candy. It's another thing that's in the Bible. And I'm just paraphrasing. And I don't know why I'm keep using the Bible. The Bible just got some truth to it. It's just that people only look on the surface level, so that's why they never go deeper. But even in the Bible it says, when I was a child, I did childish things. When I matured, I started to put down those childish things. So a lot of the shit that you might think you want to manifest and all that corny shit, you ain't gonna want it when your soul begins to rise up, when your spirit begins to speak through you and express itself. That shit is gonna be like so secondary that it's gonna be, you're gonna be like, oh my God. It's gonna be relationships you thought you wanted to be in, people you thought you wanted to be around, states, cities, things you thought you wanted to do that was just your ego wanted that. Your ego was enticed because the ego, let me tell you, like I always got to reiterate, your ego only fuck with the 5 senses. And your ego's nature is accumulation and narratives. An accumulation of narratives. So it just constantly wants to keep a story going. And what's the point of the ego? To just exist as an idea of you so that you never be able to realize yourself in real time and just live in peace in real life and not the corny peace to where oh my God, there's so much cliche shit out here right now that's covering up and blocking the real shit that is crazy. So, it's a lot of people that talk about peace, but they haven't even had a fucking smidget of peace yet. Because their ego only could go but so far. And when you think that's when you lost. So people think they know it because they think they know what peace is, they never have it. And even me speaking on that, I don't believe I know what it is truly. And that's why I'll be able to have peace, just knowing that I don't know. My mind is at ease. My mind is at rest. So I'm able to go into deeper dimensions and deeper realms of just peace and sight and stillness within my mind. Could you imagine your mind being still? If you're awakening and you're going to stay true to your path, that's where you headed. You headed to a space where your mind's still and your heart is leading you. You feel me? And it ain't about if you can manifest a car or if you can manifest a relationship or your soulmate and all that corny shit. But I can't knock nobody because it's a step on the ladder. You just can't stay there. Got to keep going. And one of the hardest parts, like I said, is to keep going. Is to leave people behind. Because many are called, but few are chosen. So if you choose to walk in your awareness and not walk in your ignorance, then yeah, you're going to have to leave people that want to stay in ignorance behind. And it'd be hard, but it become easier. Like I said, I had to leave the idea of a relationship with people out of my mind. Yeah, we used to hang out. Yeah, we used to do this, but now I'm aware, man. I can't walk in there. I can't act like I don't see. I can't unsee this shit. I can't unhear it. I can't unfeel it. I'm no longer living in that being controlled by that trauma any longer. So me and you might not connect no more. And that's cool. I hope you find your way. But what I got to do is keep moving and be a light. So when you do come into awareness, you could look at me and say, oh shit, we do got more in common now because I'm starting to rise in awareness. I'm starting to rise into dimensions. So I'm just here. And you got to own it. That's another thing. You got to own it. When you rise up to higher dimensions, you got to own it. You could be humble. Humility is the biggest part of the whole path. Being truly humble. Being humbled by the fact that it's always something that you don't know, that is always something that you're blind to and always something that you're ignorant to. And that is the feminine, that is the internal, that is the darkness from which you came. You feel me? So I don't knock nobody. At the same time, I can't sacrifice moving into a higher dimension and rising up and clearing a lot of the ancestral trauma and things like that to just go hang out with people that I used to hang out with and shit like that just for the sake of just chilling. I can't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that you're going to realize you're going to have to give a lot up. Because this path is not about accumulation. Like I said, that's a part of the ego. This path is about letting go. When I first got into my awareness, I used to think, oh, more books, more knowledge. The more you know, the more you're able to regurgitate, the more, this is what this is about. I thought it was like school. You just remember shit and then you get from A to Z, but it's no end to this. This has been going on for lifetimes. This has been going on for eons. And this is an evolution of awareness. So like a scientist, you just discovering what's already there. It's not the soul that's growing. It's the awareness and consciousness that's being, oh shit, I'm a soul. I'm eternal. I have a whole realm within myself that's way more lit than the realm that I live in a lot of times. And once you start to, come back into union with yourself and merge back with yourself, you start to really be able to live a life where everything lit. Going to the store lit, looking at a tree, just your day-to-day is more full and fulfilled because you living on more than one plane at a time. And we always doing it whether we know or not. Just like the universal laws, they are intact, and you could go look those up for yourself. And a lot of y'all that are just newly awakening, that's the first place I would start. Go look at the universal laws. Go look at the Kabbalion, the Hermetic laws. Because the thing about that, and that's the first thing the laws tell you, the universal laws tell you, whether you're aware of them or not, you're still under the jurisdiction of them. And when we talk about laws and we talk about principles, the thing about those is they don't change. They just are. Just like breathing, it just happens. Just like dying, it just happens. You're here today, you're going tomorrow. And as we walking on this path of spiritual awakening, we're going to have to be able to accept death. Accept the fact that every day as I speak right now, I'm living in between life and death. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of death. Death within a lot of ideas of yourself. Death within a lot of relationships. Death in with a lot of things that you was used to, familiarity and things like that. And you're going to realize you're not, slowly but surely, you're not the same person and not the same being anymore. It's a show called The Premise on Netflix, and a particular episode, the guy was talking about how when people are at sea, like when the boats, the big ships are at sea, how they take one piece of plank up at a time, one piece of wood up at a time, and then they put a new one down, right? And they do it while the ship is at sea. And after a while, they change each one and keep changing each one. And at some point, that's not the same ship anymore. And that's what you're doing as you awaken. You're taking one piece of plank up, one piece of the wood, you putting down a new one. And at some point, you're not going to be the same as you were. And the thing about it is, you might look the same. So people going to try to come with the same tactics, come with the same manipulation, think they can maneuver and get over on you, think you down and do the same things that you used to do. And it's really alchemy, though. It's another good book, The Alchemist. Go read that. I don't want to go into that. That was another good book. Somebody close to me gave to me when I first really started to become aware of my path, and it was about the same thing, just letting go of what you're familiar to allow space for something new. Like an analogy I used in the past, like people always want to hold on to what they got, always want to hold on to the familiar so much, even down to like things like money. You might give somebody $1, because giving and receiving is the same thing, by the way. But you might give somebody $1, and you don't even know you making space for $100 bill, because all the bills is the same size. They just have. We all agreed on the idea that they all have a different value. So $100 bill and $1 bill is all made out of the same shit. But we'll give a person probably $1 bill before we give them 100. But like I said, anyway, you're making space for that. You're making space for more. So less is more. So pack light. You feel what I'm saying? So, I'm just happy to come into a certain awareness within myself that as I come out and speak and come out and grow deeper within myself and go into multiple dimensions, I'm able to ground this shit and say it and feel like I'm saying it in a simple, practical way, because it's a lot of things out here. It's a lot of people out here that's regurgitating information, and they sound like experts, and they giving you fun facts, but it's leading you in circles. I remember watching certain lectures and certain people that teach online and thinking, damn, they fire. Wow, I didn't know Mars and Venus, and I didn't know all that. I didn't know this was how many miles the sun was away from Earth. That's dope. I didn't know the Egyptians built the pyramids. You get what I'm saying? And it sound cool and all that, but if it doesn't compute and is not able to be grounded with something practical within your day-to-day life, something you can see, feel, touch, and put your feet under, something that can help you dive deeper into your imagination, something that can help strengthen your faith, so that you walk on your path, and when things is trying to pull you on your path, off your path, you know who you are and you stay stern. Your yes is your yes and your no is your no. And you start to grow in virtue, simple things, simplicity. You start to grow in your integrity and your dignity and shit like that. And truly be able to be humble and truly be able to be kind. And stay on the even kill. And we all are challenged. This shit is a challenge. It's always a challenge. Because your ego's sneaky. You start to feel like, oh, I got it now. You know what I'm saying? I know something now. And then now as soon as you feel like that, you lost again. As soon as you feel like that, you off your path. So I'm never here to talk as if what I'm saying is the end all be all. I'm challenging the people that listen to me, yo, go see for yourself. Because you'll never know until you see for yourself. And even when you see for yourself, you're going to see it from a different angle, from a different dimension than I did. And hopefully it's from a higher dimension than I'm seeing it. I'm experiencing it and I'm feeling it. And you got to purify your vessel, purify your heart more and more and more. What do I mean by that? Let go of resentment, let go of the regret, let go of the idea of why shit ain't happen how it was supposed to happen, why dad wasn't around, why mom was neglected, all of those things. Because that's the thing that this 3D matrix got set up for us, all of these archetypes to identify with. I talked about this in another podcast. All these archetypes that us to identify with. Because me, like I always say, I'm a person that never seen my father, met my father, not a picture, not a sock, not his cologne, nothing. My mom, she was going and coming. She did not raise me. So I could easily say, oh, well, all my shortcomings and all the things that I feel about myself that aren't right, or all the mistakes I make, I could just throw it on them and blame it on them. No, I choose to advance. I choose to make more space so my soul could express, so my soul could speak. And the things I'm talking about right now, I didn't have I remember not having the confidence to speak on this level, even thinking and feeling like I knew this shit and really truly experiencing this shit, and still wouldn't speak on it because I still was attached to the people from the past, what they gonna think, and do I sound right and all that corny shit. But you gotta learn. You're gonna learn to let go of that, and you're gonna learn to allow, like I said, just allow more space for the soul. So just understand, you changing on every level, on multiple dimensions. Your body's changing, your DNA is changing, the sun, the earth, everything around you is changing, and this is just for the awakening, the ones that are awakening, meaning coming into awareness of what's already there and what's already happening. You changing so much that you're going to have to just submit to change itself. And that's what nature is, just change. That's the nature of life. That's the nature of this reality, is change and uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen next. So we got to get to a space where we could align with change, which will align us with our intuition, and we'll be able to be guided from a higher level. Meaning that we don't have to see it to believe it. We see that, oh, this person don't feel right. This energy don't feel right when I'm around them. I don't feel right doing this, and we cater to that versus, oh, everybody else do it. Oh, they look good. Oh, that sound good. But how did it make you feel on the inside? But like I said, when we first beginning to wake up, and as we wake up, awaken the entire time, it's constantly walls we got to break through. It's constantly thresholds we have to go through. And to get through those doors and things like that, it's always something we got to let go of. It's like monkey bars. You let go of one to swing to the next one. And that's really the message, man. Understanding that the nature of the game is to let go. You don't see no trees or no birds or nothing hanging on to the season that's past, and they just get with it. And that's where animals are more intelligent than us at. They more in tune to the nature of life. They just are. They understand they're beings, not doings. See, we human beings, we don't understand the being part. We don't understand that we just need to be sometimes. We don't understand that there's higher energies and higher vibrations and frequencies and beings that we could connect to, that we have other family out here that's unseen. You know what I mean? That know you got cousins in the spiritual realm that's sitting right next to you, and ancestors that's nudging you and shit like that. But you got to be able to become privy to the signs, and we ain't gonna be able to do that when we living in fear. So it's about coming to a confrontation with the fear and getting to the origin and the root of why am I scared? Why am I scared to lose this? It's not really a loss. It's just a change, because energy don't die. It's just you just got to transmute it and change it. So even me sitting right here talking, I took the cards that was dealt to me, I took the energy that was given to me, and I took that same energy, that same pain, same suffering, same confusion, and turned it into joy, turned it into passion, turned it into clarity. You feel what I'm saying? How did I do that? Confrontation. Being open and welcome to obliterating some of the things you thought you knew, that you thought was right, that you thought was normal, and questioning this shit. Just start with a simple question. Even then, back to the Bible. Like I said, I'm not religious in no way, but truth is truth. Back to the Bible. When they talking about Adam, Eve gave Adam the apple and all that, curiosity. Just curiosity. They just wanted to know. And that's what those of us that awaken, we have that knack to know. We just gotta know. We just want to know. It's something that's deeper inside us, the soul, that just wants to wake you up. Yo, tap you on the shoulder constantly, telling you, yo, it's something deeper, man. And we all go through it in relationships. You know, you might argue with somebody, debate with somebody, be mad. Y'all might have to go y'all separate ways and things like that. Or you might feel like you got the shitty end of the stick, but as time go on, you'll be able to look in retrospect and realize those things was just lessons you had to learn to align you with higher aspects of yourself. So now you like in the helicopter, seeing the whole view and seeing the whole everything you went through on the ground. You seeing why you had to go through it. And then that's when you start to embody, integrate, and ground the knowledge and the wisdom, and make it into something you can apply. And then that's wisdom once you start applying the shit in real time. And like I said, it's always going to be simple. Only reason why it seems complex is because it's new, because it's something we're not familiar with. Once we become familiar with it, once we start to realize that it's just a reflection of us, then it becomes simple. Then you don't have to wear 1,000 gemstones around your neck to say you spiritual. You don't have to do all of these, just cliche practices and tools to solidify and validate your spirituality. You can just be a regular dude from the hood, from the trenches like me, that always just felt like he was on the outside looking in anyway and realized it was for a reason. And that's just the ultimate realization you're gonna come to. And then life could become fun again. And then you could be forever young. Because the soul is permanent. The soul don't change, so you could be forever young. So you'll find yourself you're just going to find yourself getting back into some shit that you used to love to do. Get back into feelings you used to love to feel. Get back into your imagination. But let me just make sure I say this. It's a war going on all dimensions. It's a war going on between the unknown aspects of yourself and the known aspects of yourself, the unfamiliar and the familiar. It's a war going on in real life out here, in the streets, in relationships. You gotta go to war for your money. You gotta go to war for everything. It's like war and peace is synonymous. Like you can't have one without the other. So the thing you gotta understand is what's precious, what's priceless, and that's your heart. That's your, for real. I thought the mind, I thought the wisdom and the knowledge was everything. It's really your heart, man. Your heart, you need your heart to be light. You need your heart to be right. And a lot of times, a lot of us ain't gonna understand that until we get cut off from our own heart, and our heart become dark, and our heart become cold, and our heart is broken. When we were so quick to give it away to somebody else and let them step on it, and we're not gonna realize that after they step on it, and we gotta pick up all those pieces again. Once those pieces get picked up, then we realize the value of every piece that we had, and then we learn to protect it, and we learn to put boundaries on it. So damn, I guess this shit really about love. I guess it's really about love, and not the cliche way of love of self-sacrifice. Love meaning truly just engaging with all the aspects of yourself that you're aware of, and like I'm just gonna have to keep saying the same shit and being open to the things that you're not aware of. And when you see that something don't work no more, or whatever the case may be, you put it down and let for somebody else to fuck with it, and you move on into the new.